Says I'm live. And there's a cat on my front porch. Hi there, and welcome to this day in history for February 11th. February 11th is the 42nd day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, with 323 days remaining to the end of the year, or 324 if it happens to be a leap year. Let's see if we can shift this around just a little bit. Maybe a little something like that. I'm on a little bit of an angle here. I guess that's all right, though. Today's word is amicable. Amicable is an adjective that means having a spirit of friendliness without serious disagreement or rancor. Amicable comes to us from late Latin, a word that means friendly. I'd like to take a moment to mention that links to my research are included in the show notes. I ask you to go ahead and click that like button. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section. You can share this video with others with the link in your email, messaging, or social media. And also my This Day in History playlist is in the show notes. I'll also put it up in the corner once the live is done and we go to replay. And with that, we're going to start with February 11th in the year 660 BC. It's considered the traditional date for the foundation of Japan by Emperor Jimmu. On February 11th in the year 55 AD, a boy named Tiberius Claudius Caesar Britannicus died under mysterious circumstances on the eve of his coming of age. In those days, of age was 14. And so just before his 14th birthday, he died under mysterious circumstances. Now, why do we care in this day in history? Well, it was that he was the only living flesh and blood male descendant of the Roman Emperor Claudius, which made Britannicus heir to the Roman Empire. Unfortunately, Britannicus's mother, Messalina, was a victim of her own self-centeredness, ambition, and unworthy desires. Even though she was married to Emperor Claudius, Messalina pursued a handsome young Roman nobleman named Silius, who apparently had some ambitions of his own. Silius and Messalina plotted to get married, with the idea that Silius would adopt young Britannicus. And their idea was roughly that they would overthrow Britannicus's father Claudius, and with Britannicus reasonably in line to be the next emperor, Messalina and Silius would be neatly positioned to serve as regents, which means that they would be directing the show with Britannicus out front as the emperor. He was still too young to rule on his own at the time. Anyway, they did go get married, even though she was actually still married to Claudius. And guess what? Claudius found out. The emperor of the Roman Empire, Claudius, found out what his wife had done, and maybe about their plot too, and ordered that she and her boyfriend be put to death. In addition, Claudius ordered that anything representing Silius, statues, artwork, images, anything, be destroyed. In the meantime, Claudius's niece, Agrippina, and her son, Lucius Domitius Ahenobarbus, yeah, it is drama. Lucius Domitius Ahenobarbus, being extended family and all. Now, Agrippina was Claudius's niece. They were around just about all the time, any kind of extended family event or even state events. Well, they're family, so they're there. And so Lucius Domitius was about 4 or 5 years older than Britannicus and overshadowed Britannicus in many ways. And that certainly didn't change after Britannicus's mother, Messalina, was gone. And eventually Claudius, he got lonely and he decided to marry his little niece, Agrippina, and adopt her son, Lucius Domitius. And when he adopted Lucius Domitius, Domitius got a new name, and it was Nero. Nero. You might have heard of Nero. He was a terrible, terrible emperor of Rome. So, yeah, talk about drama. So, but you've never heard of Britannicus before, right? That's because as Nero became more prominent, he had his own eye on becoming emperor, but there was this little matter of Claudius's flesh and blood son, Britannicus, who would supersede Nero as candidate for emperor. And people liked Britannicus better anyway. Anybody with sense did. Britannicus's father, though, died in October in the year of 54, most likely poisoned on the orders of Agrippina. She had her own poisoner. And so these 4 months later, on the eve of his 14th birthday, when he would officially become a man, according to Roman tradition, there was a big dinner where Britannica was poisoned with something that was so instantly effective that it is said that Britannicus lost both voice and breath. Oh boy, well, there's plenty more about it, but I think I forgot to send my note here. That's not sending. All right. Okay, well, okay. There's plenty more about it, but I think that's enough for now. I mean, this story just goes on and on, but that's the main thing, that on the eve of his 14th birthday, he mysteriously died. He was murdered. This is the birthday of Elizabeth of York, born February 11th, 1466. She's notable for having been the Queen Consort of England, the wife of Henry VII of England, mother of Arthur, Prince of Wales, Margaret, Queen of Scots, Henry VIII, King of England, Mary, Queen of France, and Edmund, Duke of Somerset. On February 11, 1534, Henry VIII of England was recognized as head of the Church of England. He set that all up. We've talked about that before. And on February 11, 1808, a man named Jesse Fell burned some anthracite on an open grate as an experiment in heating homes with coal. Anthracite is a metamorphosed type of coal that contains a high carbon content. It burns differently than wood does, and hotter too, if I remember correctly. And this experiment of his appears to have been successful, as coal has been used in homes as heating fuel for quite a while now. The University College of London was founded as University of London 195 years ago on February 11th, 1826. This is the birthday of Thomas Edison, born February 11th, 1847. Yeah. He was, of course, an engineer, businessman, and inventor. Pretty busy guy, but the top three things that pop to my mind when I hear Edison are light bulb, phonograph, electricity. Edison died in 1931 at the age of 84. Bernadette Soubirou's first vision of the Blessed Virgin Mary took place in Lourdes, France on February 11, 1858. I talked more about this event in last year's episode on February 11th, and I'll be sure to link that up there in the corner there in the iCards once the live is done and we go to replay. Several major musical works, operas, symphonies, premiered on February 11th in various years. This is the birthday of a woman named Lucille Randon, R-A-N-D-O-N, Randon, born February 11th, 1904. Lucille is a French supercentenarian. We've talked about supercentenarians before. That's someone who has lived to or beyond the age of 110. At the moment, Lucille is the oldest living French person at 117 years of age on February 11th, 2021. She's also the second oldest living person in the world, behind a Japanese woman named Kane Tanaka. Lucille survived COVID-19 without any symptoms, having tested positive for it just recently. She worked for several years as a governess when she was a young woman, and one of the children that she cared for as a toddler looked her up a few years ago. When he was 91, he used the internet. It's amazing what you can find on that internet. Anyway, if hopefully she hasn't died overnight, Lucille, happy birthday. BBC Television produced the world's first ever science fiction television program on February 11th, 1938. It was an adaptation of a play that coined the term robot. And I looked at the title of it and it seemed odd, and I just didn't type it. I just didn't type it out into the script. Science fiction. Well, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg were American citizens who were convicted of spying on behalf of the Soviet Union during the Cold War back in the late 40s and early 50s. They were convicted of espionage in 1951 and were sentenced to the electric chair. On February 11th, 1953, President Eisenhower denied all appeals for clemency for the Rosenbergs. On February 11th, 1970, Japan launched their first satellite, Oshumi, into orbit on February 11th, 1970. And I just realized we opened and closed with Japan and had a little Japan in the middle. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. I hope you learned some things you didn't know before. I know I sure did. I always do. As always, links to my research are included in the show notes, and I'll include a link to last year's episode for February 11th up there in the iCards. Now, let's see what else. Now, remember that I have a playlist also of other episodes of This Day in History. And I want to say that it looks like the entire country is under a pretty severe cold snap. I mean, everything east of the Rockies for sure. Some people are going to get a lot of snow. Some people get a lot of snow every February. So what is February? We get snow. I'm talking to you, Central New York. But there are a lot of people that are going to get snow that aren't accustomed to this much. There's going to be a lot of people that get ice that aren't accustomed to it. It's a pretty, pretty rough forecast here. So y'all stay safe, stay warm. If you have to go outside, bundle up, and come back tomorrow. We'll do this again. Have a wonderful day. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Right there, looking for that thank you very much button. Have a beautiful day.